All right. Very good. All right. So we had a couple here that said they had no sound. Did that change anything for you? I didn't want to have to try to bring myself up, but if that's what I have to do for you guys to hear sound, I don't know why we would have had to have done it that way. But I want to make sure you're hearing what I'm saying. Otherwise, this is kind of a big waste of time. All right. So does everybody hear me now? Let me know over in chat if you hear what I'm saying now. Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. So you haven't heard anything else I've been talking about. Yowzers. Okay. Well, basically, the S&P is at lows for the entire year. Okay. So it's at lows for the entire year. So this 3640 area is really big because it's our lowest point of the year. Now, it's dipped below that twice here just this week. It did it today. It did it on Tuesday, but we saw a nice run up yesterday. But as soon as it got up here, then you see that, I mean, we're down big again today. So it's created a really volatile trading environment. The reason it's so volatile is because they're trying to figure out whether or not this bottom is really going to hold or whether or not we're headed further over the next quarter. And I just mentioned there that earnings are going to be coming up. They're going to see a lot of companies doing their earnings reports here in about a month. So that's going to create a lot of volatility as well. Some of them have come out early and said, yeah, things look really bad out there. So just be prepared. Our earnings report is not going to look nearly as good as we thought it would. And so these stocks are dropping like crazy. Let me point out a couple that have done that recently. Ford was one of them. And you can see the drop that Ford had. Now it's a lower dollar stock. Let's go to 6-month view. But this is a pretty big drop when you think about 15 down to 11.50. So $3.50 on a $15 stock that they've dropped over 20%. Then you have companies like FedEx. I mean, this is a massive drop here, guys. So they came out again right before earnings and basically said, hey, it doesn't look good. And boy, did it not look good. I think, see, what did they drop? From about basically 200 down to 160. So they lost over a quarter of their value in one earnings report. And there have been several others like that as well. There's actually quite a few out there. And so, when you start to consider that, you go, wow, how many other companies are going to look like FedEx here at the end of October? And if we see enough other companies that look like FedEx, then our S&P is headed for another substantial leg down. So if you get enough companies that are all coming out and they're looking like FedEx and Ford, and they're taking these 25, 30, 40% drops, then that's not going to bode well for our overall market. And we just need to think about that from a bearish perspective, because that means that kind of drop could continue. So we need to be very aware of that because that's going to be a big thing for us to watch. So just make sure you are aware of that, because that's really going to be a factor. All right. Sorry about the sound earlier. I don't know why that did that. There should be a way around it, but I'm not sure what that is. So anyhow, if you guys have some ticker symbols you want us to consider, I know today is a kind of a tough day, considering, that we're trying to do live trading here. Should we be going, bullish, anticipating the 3640 area holding, or should we be going bearish, just saying, hey, you know what, things are bad and they're going to get worse, and let me, find some things that are going to drop here. I know David normally has some ticker symbols for you, but it's really hard just to kind of even get a sense of, what we're really looking for. So if you were to go over here, let's just grab a watch list here, like our options watch list. The way that I would be looking through a day like today is to essentially just kind of looking at this list going, okay, if the market holds, what is a stock that is at or near a support level? When I see something like AMAT, now we'll bring it up here on the bigger chart later, but it really seems to be at a support area. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll mark that one. We'll go check it out here and see what it looks like. Same thing, maybe even for Amazon. Let's go ahead and mark it too, because again, we just kind of see it stalling out over here, but it's found an area of support. Something like AN is the opposite of what we're looking for. That's way too big of a drop today. ANAT's a maybe. Look at AZN. I think that's what is that? I'm not sure what that one is. But that one's actually showing a lot of strength today, so that's kind of interesting. Let's see. Yeah, this BLDR is showing surprising strength too. Might be interesting just to take a look at that one. So we'll flag it for now. Here's another one that's kind of maybe of interest to us. It depends on where it is and its pattern. CASY. Yeah, there's another one that's kind of flattening out here. And again, we're just looking for things that are in a flattish support area, or maybe making maybe some bullish patterns in case the market does go up. Of course, if it keeps dropping, then we'll be changing our mindset drastically. And what I've been telling people on our live trading hour at 2 o'clock is that they really need to have 2 trades planned out. So 2 bullish trades, 2 bearish trades. Why 4? Because that way you've got 2 and 2. And if one of them isn't working so well, when you wake up the next morning, you can go with the other one. If both of them aren't working, well, then you kind of start over again. But you look at your bearish trades, you say, okay, well, they're working really well, then you can go that route. So you're just kind of prepared so you don't miss anything. Let's grab this one too, and that'll be enough for now. We'll just move those over. All right, so now we'll go to the chart. We'll look at these that we just moved over there. So AMAT. Yeah, so again, we see our support area. And what we like about AMAT is that we had this support back here in July. And I believe that aligns with our low on the market as well. So again, if we got a more positive sentiment from the overall market, then we could see a move up on something like AMAT around this area here, which is around $84. So is that something we want to do right now? I'd say no to right now, but it's something we would probably want to keep an eye on. Let's see about Amazon. Yeah, Amazon's still in a downtrend. Does it have some room to drop? It sure does. So again, we're at a decent buy point for a bearish trade here. This is not a bad one. So we're right under the EMAs. It's dropping today. Again, we would be looking for the S&P to keep falling, and then to kind of see, well, how low would Amazon go? But that one's a pretty decent one. BLDR, certainly more bullish. It's barely even down today. What you can see over here is it actually opened at 57.44, and it's actually moved up today. So this is very bullish. So it's absolutely fighting the market. But if you're looking for something to move up, then something that's clearly fighting the market like this is going to be a possible opportunity there. So that one's probably one that you should watch as well. This is a pretty good one, CASY here, for a potential move down. Now, does it concern me that we already have a wick today and then it's already moved back up? Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather see this thing dropping, getting back down to the recent lows. That would make me feel better for a bearish trade on that. Here we have another one where we just look at it and say, from a horizontal price perspective, it is nearing a really strong horizontal support. Now, it's still definitely going down. It'd be easy for us to go in here and draw a line on this and get a clear idea of, this is it's very clear, guys. This is that's a pretty good line. I wish we could, kind of adjust it a little bit here. Gosh, I hate that you can't move that there. But if we could kind of get that adjusted, you get the point, right? You can't move them. I hate that we can't adjust the tops and stuff. I wish we could. But there's your downtrend. So at best, this might be like a descending wedge, but certainly a bearish pattern Now we do, I guess we do need to be a little, concerned or at least aware of today. When you look at that and you go, why in the world is that green? Well, it's open at 87.50, and again, it climbed up to 87.78. So they're actually not selling today. I find that pretty fascinating, right? So why are they not selling today with the market being as negative as it is? Why are they not selling this? We got a clear move down, but it's starting to flatten out here a little bit. So again, that makes sense because we're at an area of really strong support. So something like D-Dog is really cool to watch because it's making such a clear support area there. We get something similar over here on Lynn. So even from that thumbnail version, we were able to spot several trades that were at horizontal support. Now, does that do much for us on a day like today? Well, it can if you're thinking, okay, I I really think that they're going to try to make another move up tomorrow. They're just not really committed to getting past the lows for the entire year. I just don't think they're going to do that. And by the way, this stock is right at support. So I'm going to buy a stock at support, and it's either going to go up or I'll stop out, and then I'll have a small expense. But I had a chance, for it to reverse and get back up here and make some money, or I was going to stop out. Now, you might look at this and say, Jeffrey, I don't want to trade that one specific. And you don't have to trade LIN specifically, but I've given you several options here. Just kind of thinking through what are the types of trades that you might want to be in. That's what I would be looking at. So you kind of get the sense of the types of trades we're looking at. All right, let's see here. Mark wants us to look at SLV and gold. All right, so yeah, let's talk about this real quick, Mark. So a lot of people think that silver and gold are hedges against inflation or a market like this, and then they understand that, and then they assume, oh, silver and gold go up during bear markets. Well, you can go back to any previous bear market and see that that's not the case, that oftentimes silver and gold have fallen as well. So it's not a matter of silver and gold go up, it's that they tend to hold their value a little bit more. Now, one of the things that's going to come into play here a little bit with us is, for years now, the actions of the Fed, how are those really impacting the dollar and whatnot? So those things are factors now that are a little bit different than certainly you would have had historically during some of these bearish markets. So that's gonna make a little bit of a difference. But let's go and check out your silver and gold. SLV. All right. Yeah. So again, it's not, you can notice here that, yes, from the high, certainly, 24 down to 17, it's lost $7 a share. So that's certainly noticeable. 7 out of 24 is almost a third, right? I mean, so it's noticeable. It's less than a third, but still 25 to 30% is pretty big drop since April of this year. However, when you look at what's happened recently, it's kind of held its own. So it hasn't really dropped a lot. I mean, there have been some stocks certainly that have dropped way more. This one's dropped about $1, in the past, basically 3 months, maybe we would say maybe $2. So, from that perspective, for basically since July, it's basically been in this $17 to $19 range. So it hasn't lost a lot of value. It's actually been fairly steady. Has it dropped? Yes. Has it dropped a lot? Does it look like FedEx that lost 30% of its value? No, it certainly doesn't do that. So again, it's not that it's going to hold or go up necessarily, but it will maintain a little bit more of its value. It won't drop from a percentage perspective as much as some of those other stocks that would be, significantly impacted by things like, CPI. Obviously inflation impacts silver and gold, but surprisingly enough, we haven't really seen that be a major player and going, hey, gold's going way up. Of course, you can learn more about this from Ben and Andrew with our precious metal stuff. They're way more educated on all that stuff than I am. But yeah, if you look at gold just from a charting perspective, it's in a clear downtrend. I mean, you've got lower lows, you've got lower highs. Is it a super pretty pattern? No, but at least for the past 3 months, we get a pretty clear idea that gold is certainly headed down. Now, the last 2 days up, but no, overall it is still struggling. Now, 168 to 154, 150, 151. So again, 10%. So how does that align with other stocks since August? I think you could say, let's just go down here and look at, Intel. So since August, what has Intel done? 40 down to 26. So they've lost, $14 a share. That's almost a third. So, did silver and gold lose 30%? They didn't. Did silver and gold still drop? They did, but they didn't necessarily lose 30%. Let's just roll through some of these. eBay since August, 50 down to 37, $13 drop there. What is that? Another, 30% on that one essentially. So again, when you look at it from that perspective, LCID here, another stock, since August, what are we at? We were at 19 down to 14. They've lost, 25% of their value. So I think you would see that pretty often. And again, that doesn't even, include things like Ford, which dropped from essentially 16 down to 11, and they've lost a third of their value, or FedEx, which I pointed out, which lost well over a third of its value. So I think from that perspective, you can kind of see, why people can lean into silver and gold a little bit. But I don't want you thinking, oh, silver and gold, they just maintain their value in a bear market, because that's not what happens. Not at all. In fact, they'll still drop, and we can see that. All right, guys. Well, we're looking at a very volatile market. As far as where we're going to end today, it'll be interesting. We'll see where we are here in that last hour. But again, we still have some really big, important things at play here. 3640 holding up as a support area. Breaking down below that, excuse me, is obviously going to be something really, really major that we'll be looking to see where that is. Does it try to make a recovery? It's tried to make a couple of recoveries this morning, but ultimately those have kind of failed out. So what's that going to look like this afternoon? Is it going to try to make another little mini run? Is that going to carry over into Friday, or what are we going to see there? So thanks for being with us today. Sorry about the sound issues earlier, but thanks for being on with us for this edition of Live Trading, and we will see you guys next time.